But that's what happens with our people, right? They don't want to accept that the Most High chose them, right? They want to be able to allow the nations round about to benefit from things that were particularly intended for us, right? This is Isaiah chapter 48, verse 9. It said, for my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise I will refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off, that I cut thee not off, right? Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Here's the point. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake, will I do it. For how shall my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. Hearken unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my call. I am he, I am the first, I am the last. Right? And that's not the most high power Yahweh, that's Yahweh Shai. Right? Genesis 1 and 26 lets us know that, hey, the Most High didn't create this physical earth. It was Yahweh Shai and the angels. Right? Proverbs 8 and 22 lets us know that. Colossians 1 and 15 lets us know that Yahweh Shai is our creator. Right? He has been given dominion. He has been given authority. He has been given preeminence over the children of Israel in his time. This is the first spirit created. Right? The first spirit created, as pursuant to Proverbs 8 and 22 and Colossians 1 and 15. If you ask a common Christian who created the earth, they'll tell you that God, the most high power, Yahweh, created the earth. When Yahweh Shai is our creator. He's the first spirit that was created. Right? He's been given preeminence. Right? Moving right along. You know? And this is why we give thanks to Yahweh in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, right? It says that in the scriptures, whatever you do in name or in deed, give praise to the Father through the Son, you know? But a lot of people, they feel like they could go directly to the Father. They don't understand what it is to have a Savior. They don't understand what it is to have a Redeemer, right? Redeem means to buy back. It says that in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. No man will buy you or redeem you. Right? You were sold to the nations, and unlike these gutter rats, no one is going to give you reparations. No one is going to give you, you know, some type of support. No one is going to restore you to what status you were once in. Because guess what? How can you restore bloodshed? We brought that out in Numbers 35 and 33, right? And you can speak on behalf of yourself, but you can't speak on behalf of people whose souls cry out to the Heavenly Father every day, you know, asking him to do what? Bring forth that word of truth, right? And set us as the praise of the earth. So a lot of people, like I said, they're hopeless romantics. In their heart of hearts, their desire is to save Esau. If there's a heaven that the white man, the Chinese man, the Arab, and these funky Africans can't go to, they'll rather boil in goddamn hell fire with their enemies. And that's a sad state of affairs. You've been beat down so low in your captivity that you don't have any love for yourself. You hate yourself. But rather, you'll be a human shield. You'll be a bodyguard, right? You'll be a quilt of safety and security. If the so-called white man is uncomfortable, here it is, a nigga want to jump out, say that you preaching hate, right? Just last week I was out, and it was a white guy agreeing with everything I said, but I was charging him with all of the atrocities that him and his nation has committed against us, letting them know what his judgment is in the Bible, right? But it's always the nigga that pop up and said that I was preaching hate, right? Just imagine you're in a village with your brothers and your sisters. Just imagine you're in a village with your brother and your sister, And right outside of the village, there's a snake that's biting your brothers and your sisters. That's constantly vexing your brothers and your sisters. And you go back to your family. You go back to your brothers and you go back to your sisters. And you say, hey, y'all need to be careful because it's a snake outside of the village that's biting y'all. Right? But just imagine that snake go back and say to the other snakes, hey, that man is preaching hate. Why? Because I'm trying to inform and warn and enlighten my brothers and sisters about the harm and the hurt that that snake is imposing. Right? Here the snake is biting me and I'm warning my brothers. And that snake go back to the other snakes and say that man is teaching hate. Right? We're here just supposed to allow our people to be open praise. Like, you know, like sheep to the slaughter. Right? But that's the mind of 2/3 of our people. You know, anything that make the so-called white man feel discomfort, you know, they will jump in front of him to take whatever bullet that's intended for him. You know, and that's by design. You know, Willie Lynch letter, as well as 500 years of rape, robbery, torture, and social engineering. We've been socially engineered to look at each other, right, and not appreciate one another, right? Because what's to appreciate about somebody being black? We know what black culture is, chitlins, Christmas, right? Well, once you come into the knowledge of who we truly are, it's a lot to love, it's a lot to embrace, right? And with that understanding of who we are, you automatically are reignited with not only who you are, loving yourself, but when you see a reflection of yourself, you're gonna automatically come with a higher level of concern. More empathy, more sympathy, more consideration, and love, which is keeping the commandments. You know, hey, even though you're not in your right mind, change begins with me. I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna backbite. No usury, I'm not gonna push a bottle on you like our people were doing all last week in my job. They were pushing that bottle on me. Come and observe this Christmas party. People came up to me with gifts. I had to tell them, I don't celebrate it because I didn't want them to feel like I was gonna reciprocate. You buy me a gift, now I feel like, but that's how Satan seduces the righteous, right? It says that in Proverbs 12:26. It said that the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduce them. So with Israelites falling away from who they truly are, we are constantly being exploited, taken advantage of, and seduced by the nations that are round about. Why? Because if you don't know who you are, then you don't even have the ability to give a rebuttal. If you don't know who you are, they can come to you with any information, right? And how can you present something other than that, right? And this is why having the knowledge of the Bible makes you dangerous in a society, because they know the lies that they've been propagating and that they've conjured up, but they just want to hope that you don't know the lie, that you accept the lie as the truth, right? That you put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, right? Let me bring this out real quick, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20. It reads, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, right? Isaiah 29:16. Woe, it said, surely your turning of things upside down will be esteemed as the potter's clay, right? In this time, the Lord's people, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, that's sweet. That's to be esteemed. But the Feast of Dedication, the Feast of Weeks, right? Purim, those are bitter. That's not something that our people want to observe. That's not a change that they want to make, right? Let me bring this out one more time. This is Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, right? The scripture said, woe unto them, which means destruction, right? Let me bring this out real quick in the book of Proverbs, right? Because this is the mind of our people. right? What's right to them, following the old path and walking therein, that's darkness. Here it is, we tell them to come together, and you got enemies that God hates. And you're supposed to hate them, like it says in Amos 5:21. Hate the evil and love the good. There's hate in the Bible. But they don't want to walk in the old path. They want to stay with things upside down. You're living in an alternative reality, right? This is Proverbs chapter 17, verse 15, and it reads, he that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord, right? Because that's what happened last week when I was at camp. He said that I was speaking hate speech. Why? Because I'm not only telling the white man that he's going into captivity, if he is a white man, which I couldn't discern, right? But I was telling them that we're supposed to hate our enemies, right? As the Most High hates them. But he said I was preaching hate. One more time, Proverbs 17 and 15. It reads, he that justifieth the wicked, and we know who the wicked are, as pursuant to Malachi, the 1st chapter, right? Esau, Edom is the border of wickedness, chiefly, right? That's the chief wicked on the earth, right? But the nations that are round about, they're wicked as well. It said, Proverbs 17 and 15, he that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord, right? So if you want to be on this physical realm and you want to pervert judgment, because that's really what it is, by allowing the descendants of the wicked to escape, and just because we're standing up for what's been done to us, you want to say we're preaching hate speech, just because we're not coming with some prosperity doctrine, just because we're not telling our people to join into their enemies, right? Let me bring this out in Sirach 12 and 10. They say that we're teaching hate speech, but let me bring this out. This is Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? Going right back to the border of wickedness, Malachi 1 and 3. Esau, Edom, chiefly the so-called white man, he has a perpetual hatred for our people, right? And it won't be quenched, you know? And you know who the Lord's people are, because we're always on the receiving end of judgments in this captivity. You know what I'm saying? Here it is, you don't find Jake harming anyone but one another, right? If we cannot demonstrate hatred to these other 17 nations around about with impunity as they do us, right? It said that if anybody were to harm Esau, one of his constellations along with the sword and the fatness of the land was that you'll be judged sevenfold, a complete judgment, if you touch him, because he understood that his days were numbered after that mark was put on Cain, right? Cain knew that if men see me, they're going to know I'm the wicked by looking upon my mark of leprosy. But the Most High said, hey, don't worry about that. They're going to be able to see your pale red flesh. But if anybody touch you, Cain, they'll have to receive judgment sevenfold. You see what I'm saying? So even when it comes down to Israelites, you could harm so-called black, Latinos, Native Americans. Our enemies, they have full authority and full reign in this time to abuse us, right? Look at the prison industrial complex, you know? Look at the school to prison pipeline, right? Look at the face of the homeless epidemic. Look at the face of the missing woman's epidemic. Look at the face of the organ harvesting epidemic. Look at the face of the abortion clinics and epidemic. You all so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, they're on the receiving end, right? Who runs the pharmaceutical industry? Who runs the organ harvesting? Who runs the human trafficking? Who runs porn? Who runs the school's curriculum? And you'll see it's not the Lord's people. Who runs the central banks? So we are the rod, like it says in Isaiah 42 and 22. We are the ones that's robbed and spoiled, right? That's hid in prison houses that, hey, none say deliver, right? But even though we at the bottom, people will say that we preaching hate, right? How preposterous is that, right? But as opposed to teaching hate, we're teaching our people a false balance is an abomination to our power. Hate, love, envy, they all have their proper place. All of the different attributes and characteristics in your personality, in your character, they have been put there by the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, while Yahweh shines, for you to apply them in their proper seasons, in their proper time. It said that in Ecclesiastes 3, to everything there's a season, right? Let me get that real quick, right? This is Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. Because Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, speaks about balance. And a lot of our people, they are unbalanced. We've been called to be a nation of kings and priests and judges, but when it comes down to judgment, they're reprobates. And the Most High is giving them over to a reprobate mind, right? He's giving them over to their own delusions. Like the white man is gonna, be reformed. All races will die off. All races and bigots will die off, right? Let me bring this out in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. Like it says in Proverbs 11, a false balance is an abomination. So even in your personality, you got Jake saying, y'all teaching hate. But if you could speak to that nigga's brother, that person's family member, they'll say that's one of the most hateful, wicked, covetous, envious niggas. But in defense of the so-called white man, he'll look past all of the atrocities that's been committed against us and will charge the victim with teaching hate and being hate-filled, right? This is Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. To everything there's a season and a time under every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. Here's the point. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. So just like Amos 5:21, hate the evil and love the good, right? Here it is, it's saying there's a time to love, and guess what? There's also a time and a place to hate, right? But because we come out speaking against the dominant society, we cannot penalize you if you come up against us. We can't even reward you if you stand up for us. A lot of people look at us like, hey, forget them. They're gonna be perpetually in a corner until the white man in these nations snuff them out. So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and be ahead of the curve and join into these nations roundabout and wag my finger at those few good men that are on the side of righteousness, that are on the winning team, unbeknownst to them, right? But like it said in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace, right? And a part of having a proper understanding of the Bible is being able to discern the times, right? The scriptures tell us to measure the time diligently, right? So we understand the time that we're in. That's why we come out to give our people warning about what? Revelation 13 and 16, right? Jeremiah 30 and 16, where it talks about Jacob's trouble. No, that's all they that devoured. Let me get this real quick, right? This is the book of Jeremiah. I just want to touch on Jacob's trouble real quick. This is the book of Jeremiah. Chapter what's the scripture about Jacob's trouble? All right. This is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 6. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? It said that for the elect's sake, the Most High is going to cut the day short, right? But the point is, we come out here to let our people know that we're not in a time of love. We measure the time and we see that, hey, we're going into Jacob's trouble, a time when our whole nation will be tested, right? A time unlike any other time that we've been in captivity, where the so-called elite, Esau, Amalek, they're going to try to number the people, right? Revelation 12, it said the devil going to come down with great wrath because he has but a short time. So here it is, our borders are about to be encroached by the enemy, and we're telling them it's enemies that hate us, they're going to get us. And you're saying that we're teaching hate. No, we are truly teaching love. We are the only ones that truly love our people, because love is correction. And we don't want to see them destroyed, so what do? We tell them the truth, right? That righteousness is not for the whole world, it's for you. And to those that observe righteousness and that have the faith to receive these words, hey, the Most High will never leave you or never forsake you, right? If God is for you, it don't matter who's against you. Men will forsake you, right? Look at the story of Job. Job maintained his integrity because guess what? Like I brought out in Romans 15, things written aforetime were written for our learning, right? Things written aforetime were written for our learning. So the things that we see now, they must come to pass. That's why we have a sure word of prophecy. We know what's going to happen before they happen, right? Let me get this in the book of Amos 3 to prove that, right? According to prophecy, according to the prophecies in the Bible, right? This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, and verse 7, and it reads, surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets, right? Let me start with Amos 3 and 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Hey, we the watchmen on the wall blowing the trumpet, but these people aren't afraid. They say we teaching hate. Verse 7. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets, right? This is how we're able to come out and give our people warning. Tell them that they have enemies, because the prophecies let us know that our enemies have made a tumult against us. They have lifted up their head. They are confederate against us. And in this time, hey, they have an alliance. Look at the Council of Foreign Relations, the League of Nations, which is now UN, you know, the Bilderberg Group, G20 Summit. That's all the nations putting aside their differences to come together to see how they can maintain their supremacy over the children of Israel. Or, hey, just to keep us relegated at the bottom. Because, hey, just like it said in Psalms 83, they came together with one consent that the name of Israel be taken out of the earth. Hey, and this is how their power is maintained, by constantly keeping us at odds with our power, right? And you have to have an understanding. You know, it said wisdom is the principal thing, but a lot of our people don't have understanding. They have intelligence and they have smarts, right, based upon the wisdom of this world that they got from the so-called white man, right? But what does the scripture say about the wisdom of this world? The so-called white men tell you that you come from a Australopithecus africanus. The white man tell you come from an ape. The white man tells you that it was a big bang that set all of this orderly arrangement into existence. You know, he's not saying God made it, but he's saying a big bang. You know, mitochondria, DNA, Darwinism. That's the wisdom of this world, right? Will tell you that you're black, and you'll be within the hollow halls of his universities identifying as, you know, two Europeans, African and American. So what you realize, people in this society that have doctorate degrees and that have all of these letters, you know, according to the lowly men of Great Millstone that have the understanding of the Bible, those men can run circles around the top so-called psychologists, right? The top philosophers, the top historians, right? And we could snatch the rug out from under them just by asking them, do you know your nationality? Do you know who you truly are? A nigga with his doctor's degree will hold up that banner of being black. So you don't even know who you are, but you're gonna try to tell me about, you know, who I am, which you cannot. You can tell me about some understanding or wisdom of this world, but you have no understanding, right? Wisdom is a principal thing, knowing how to apply knowledge, but with all that getting, get an understanding of who you are and how you relate to that knowledge. Get an understanding of who you are and how you relate to that school of thought, that university. Find the origins and the root of things. Because, hey, we have an unction to know all things. The scriptures demand that we prove all things. And this is what we demand of the so-called white men in the nations round about. We're just not going off of the things that they say anymore. Why? Because we know that they've inherited lies. It says that in Jeremiah 16 and 19. Right? 2/3 of our people, when they're in their right mind, they're going to come into us and say, surely our fathers inherited lies and things wherein there was no profit. Lies and vanity and things wherein there was no profit. Right? But as it pertains to the wisdom of this world, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25, and it reads, because the foolishness of God is wiser than man, and the weakness of God is stronger than man. Right? Verse 27. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of this world to confound the things which are mighty. And the base things of the world and the things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh shall glory in his presence. See what I'm saying? The Most High gave the so-called white man the wisdom to destroy itself. Here the so-called white man has been given intelligence through the inspiration of the Most High on the left-hand side. But the so-called white man is so proud to think that, hey, this wisdom, this knowledge, this understanding, he was able to conjure that up on his own. He feels as though he has innovative thoughts when, hey, the Most High controls both sides. Job 12 and 16 lets us know the deceived and the deceiver are his. So the elect, hey, we understand everything is according to the will of the Most High. But to 2/3 of our people, as well as the heathen roundabout, they lack faith. So they think that they're running outside of the will of God. They think that they're independent. When, hey, everyone is playing out a role in end-time prophecies. Lord willing, myself as well as the other men that are on the highways and hedges are in that number. That we are upholding, maintaining, demonstrating, and representing righteousness on this side. And the Most High accepts our sacrifice. Well done, my good and faithful servant. And we're caught up. You know, that's our rest. We'll be caught up to meet him in the air, right? Let me bring this out. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and 19. It says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Right? Hey, and the most subtle beast in the field, the most crafty of all nations round about is Esau Edom. Right? Going all the way back to the garden. That wasn't a snake. Neither was it a white man, but it was a Jake with that wicked Edomite spirit in him. That was doing what? The deeds of the wicked. Using subtlety, using his wit and being cunning and clever to do what? Deceive our people to thinking that his wisdom is to be desired, something that we should want to obtain. When, hey, gather yourselves together, O nation of desire. We've been sold to our enemies, and the Most High told us, hey, you won't find rest until you do what? Seek out the old path. Where is the good way? Right? Let me continue on. You know, I'm going to touch real quick on something in social media, you know, that I seen being a trend. You know, and the trend that I'm noticing is You have sons. You have men, they give birth to boys. The boys, they grow up and they end up coming against their father, slandering them. You know, chiefly